There comes a moment in every life when everything falls apart. The plans, the dreams, the version of yourself you swore you'd protect. And suddenly you're standing in the wreckage, quiet, empty, watching pieces of who you were lying all around you. People say, just move on. But no one tells you how. No one tells you that starting again is not about running faster. It's about standing still long enough to feel everything you tried to outrun. You will not rebuild by pretending you are fine. You will rebuild by learning to hold the pieces without needing them to fit yet. The truth is, you don't need to have it all together to begin again. You just need the courage to not give up on yourself while you're still broken. Courage isn't loud. It's not fire or fury. It's a whisper at 2 a.m. that says, try again tomorrow. Because beginnings never look like triumph. They look like breathing when your chest still hurts. They look like small steps in the dark, when no one is watching. This is not a book about perfection. It's not about strength that never shakes. It's about learning how to rebuild yourself, slowly, quietly, truthfully. It's about the kind of healing that doesn't announce itself. The kind that happens while you're still doubting, still hurting, still here. This is your permission to start again. Not because you're ready, but because you're worthy. So take a breath. Sit with your silence. And begin again. Chapter 1. The Quiet Break. Accepting the end before the beginning. Every beginning is born from an ending. And before you can begin again, you must learn how to end well. No one teaches you how to grieve what didn't go the way you hoped. We're told to move on, to keep busy, to smile for the world. But sometimes the bravest thing you can do is to stop pretending you're okay. There's a silence that comes after the collapse. It isn't peace yet. It's the echo of everything you built falling apart. It's the moment when you sit alone in your room, and every sound around you feels louder than your heartbeat. The world keeps spinning, but you're frozen in place, unsure whether to scream or sleep. That's what I call the quiet break. The split between who you were and who you must become. It's not a sign of weakness. It's the moment truth finally catches up. When everything you hide beneath your ambition, your plans, your strength, all of it rises to the surface. And for the first time, you can see your own pain clearly. Pain is not the enemy. Denial is. Denial keeps you running circles around the same lessons disguised as new beginnings. The courage to begin again starts with acceptance. Acceptance is not surrender. It's acknowledging what is real so you can stop fighting ghosts. Close your eyes for a moment. Think of the thing you lost, the relationship, the dream, the version of yourself that once felt untouchable. Let its image surface. Don't turn away. This isn't about blame. It's about a witness. Because you cannot heal what you refuse to look at. Whisper to yourself, I see what ended. I see what hurts. Feel the truth of those words sitting inside your chest. Most people never do this. They escape the quiet break by chasing new noise, new goals, new faces, new distractions. But every unfelt ending waits for you in the future. The lesson always returns until you learn to listen to it. There's a difference between moving on and moving forward. Moving on is pretending it didn't matter. Moving forward is carrying its truth with grace. You are not broken because something ended. You are becoming because something taught you how fragile and precious life is. Accepting the end is the first act of rebuilding, because you cannot create from denial. You create from clarity. Let the memories breathe. Let them say goodbye. Sometimes you'll miss what hurts you. That's okay. Healing doesn't erase attachment. It transforms it into understanding. You don't need closure from others to begin again. You need honesty with yourself. Whisper your own closure. Say it out loud if you must. This chapter has ended, and I am allowed to turn the page. Because life is not a single story. It's a collection of rebirths. There will be days when acceptance feels like defeat. But remember, you're not losing, you're releasing. You're releasing the illusion that you could control everything. You're releasing the shame that says it shouldn't have ended. You're releasing the timeline that was never yours to keep. When you release, you make room for something truer to arrive. Not a replacement, but a rebirth. The quiet break is not the death of your story. It's the pause between chapters. Breathe there. Don't rush the next sentence. Let life catch up to your courage. Because beginning again is not a step forward, it's a return home. To your truth. To your peace. To the part of you that survived. And from that place you'll rise, not as the same person, but as someone new who knows how to honor the end before the beginning. You faced what ended. Now it's time to pick up the first piece. Chapter 2, Gathering the Pieces, the first gentle act of rebuilding. Rebuilding doesn't begin with a plan. It begins with a moment of a single quiet decision that says, I will not give up on myself. When everything has fallen apart, the temptation is to wait. To wait until you feel ready, confident, whole again. But here's the truth. You won't feel ready. You'll feel unsure, fragile, maybe even foolish. That's why the first step must be gentle. Because gentleness is the only language the broken can hear. You don't rebuild your life in one motion. You gather it, one small piece at a time. Imagine your life as a room after a storm. The walls still stand, but the windows are shattered. The floor is scattered with what used to be precious. The first act of rebuilding isn't renovation. It's recognition. You kneel. You notice what remains. A book is still dry in the corner. A photograph untouched. A chair still strong enough to hold your weight. That's how you begin. Not by erasing the mess, but by finding what endured. Because that's where your new foundation hides in what survived the fall. Maybe it's your compassion that stayed intact. Maybe it's your ability to listen, to show up, to try again. Maybe it's just the fact that you woke up today, and that's enough. Every piece you find, no matter how small, is proof you still belong to yourself. People talk about rebuilding as though it's about strength. But rebuilding is really about care. To care for something is to believe it deserves another chance. And right now that something is you. You don't need to fix everything. You only need to start noticing what's worth keeping. Start small. Make your bed. Wash your face. Open the window. Breathe. Each simple act whispers a truth. I still choose life. The pieces don't gather themselves. They respond to the hand that refuses to stay idle. Here's what most people get wrong about healing. They think it happens once they understand what went wrong. But healing doesn't begin in the mind. It begins in motion. The smallest movement, standing up, making tea, writing one honest sentence. That's how energy returns to the soul. You can't think your way out of pain. You must act your way through it. And the first act is almost always humble. One piece might be a forgotten dream, something you let go of because someone once told you it wasn't practical. Pick it up. Turn it over in your hands. Ask it if it still wants to live. One piece might be friendship with the person who stayed when the world walked away. Reach out. Say thank you. One piece might be silence, the quiet that no longer feels empty, but sacred. Protect it. That silence is the sound of healing. You don't have to have the whole picture yet. You just have to trust that every small act of care is a form of rebuilding. Each day, collect one piece. Some days it will be courage. Other days it will be patience. Sometimes it will simply be breath. That's enough. Because slow rebuilding is true rebuilding. The old you was built fast, rushed, afraid, trying to impress or survive. The new you must be built slow, deliberate, calm, steady. Gentleness is not weakness. It's mastery disguised as mercy. Remember this: healing does not shout. It hums. It repeats itself in small, almost invisible gestures. A breath. A walk. A pause. Each gesture says, "I'm still here." And being here, fully, tenderly, is the greatest rebuild of all. So when you wake tomorrow, don't look for miracles. Look for moments. A single morning without tears. A cup of coffee that tastes like peace. A thought that doesn't hurt. Those are your first victories. Gather them gently. Carry them forward. Because one day, you'll look back and realize you built something beautiful out of the pieces that once broke you. And it all began here with the courage to pick up just one piece. You've gathered the first pieces of your new beginning. Now, let's learn how to speak to yourself as you rebuild. Chapter 3: The Language of Forgiveness. Speaking kindly to your past self. You can't rebuild anything you still resent. And that includes yourself. Forgiveness isn't about pretending the pain didn't happen. It's about deciding that you deserve peace more than you deserve punishment. We live in a world that glorifies accountability, but often confuses it with self-cruelty. You think being hard on yourself is how you grow. But growth doesn't come from shame. It comes from light. You can't hate yourself for healing. That voice in your head, the one that keeps replaying mistakes, rewinding regrets, whispering, "You should have known better." That voice isn't true. It's fear wearing the mask of logic. Fear doesn't want you to forgive, because forgiveness means freedom. And fear only survives in captivity. Think about it. You have forgiven people who hurt you, betrayed you, walked away from you. You said they didn't know better. You said they were doing their best. But when it comes to yourself, you don't extend that same mercy. You demand perfection from the one person who was just trying to survive. Let's be honest. There were moments you didn't act from wisdom. You acted from exhaustion. You stayed where you shouldn't have stayed, believed people who kept proving otherwise. ignored the quiet voice that told you to walk away. But you didn't do those things because you were weak. You did them because you were trying to love, to belong, to find meaning. Every decision you regret was once a decision made with the information you had at the time. You did what you thought would keep you safe. And that counts for something. Forgiveness doesn't mean you approve of the pain. It means you no longer need to relive it. You stop turning every lesson into a life sentence. Because there's a difference between accountability and captivity. Accountability says, I see what I did. I'll do better next time. Captivity says, I'll keep replaying it until I can't move anymore. Choose accountability. Release captivity. Here's a truth most people never learn. Forgiveness is not a single act. It's a language. And like any language, it requires practice. You won't be fluent at first. You'll stumble. You'll fall back into self-criticism. But every time you speak kindly to yourself, you teach your mind a new dialect of grace. This is how you begin. When the voice says, "You ruined everything," you answer, "I learned what I needed to learn." When it says, "You wasted years," you reply, "I was becoming." When it whispers, "You're behind," you say, "I'm right on time for who I'm meant to be." That's forgiveness in motion, not theory, language. If you ever feel the urge to punish yourself, pause. Ask, what am I trying to fix by hurting myself? The answer will always be a need for understanding. And understanding never grows from cruelty. When you speak harshly to yourself, you're trying to control pain. But when you speak kindly, you begin to transform it. Transformation always speaks softly. The younger version of you, the one who didn't know better, still lives inside your memory, waiting for kindness. Close your eyes. Picture them. Maybe they're sitting alone, head down, ashamed of their choices. Walk toward them in your mind. Kneel beside them. Whisper, "I forgive you." They'll look up slowly, disbelieving at first. Then maybe they'll begin to cry. That's how healing begins. When the past finally feels seen, not judged. You don't need to erase your past self. You need to integrate them. The goal is not to become someone new. It's to become someone whole. Wholeness isn't the absence of mistakes. It's the harmony between who you were and who you're becoming. Every version of you was trying to get here. Forgiveness simply lets them rest. So here's your practice. Tonight, before you sleep, write one sentence that begins with, "I forgive myself for." Don't justify it. Don't explain it. Just write it. Do that every night for 7 days. Watch how your body softens. Watch how your dreams lighten. Watch how your mornings begin to feel like home again. That's not magic. That's language. Because words are energy, and when spoken with compassion, they become medicine. Forgive yourself. Not because you forgot what happened, but because you deserve to move forward without dragging your old pain behind you. Let grace be your mother tongue from now on. You've forgiven the person you used to be. Now it's time to rediscover the strength that never left you. Chapter 4. What Remains? finding strength in what survived. Every storm leaves something standing. It might not be what you hoped for, but it's what you needed to begin again. When we lose something, a dream, a person, a version of ourselves, we often stare so long at the wreckage that we forget to look for what's still upright. We think healing means finding what we lost. But true healing is recognizing what we never lost at all. Strength isn't something you build from scratch. It's something you uncover beneath the noise, beneath the ruin, beneath the fear. And if you listen carefully enough, you'll realize it never left you. You survived. Not by luck. Not by accident. But because something inside you refused to break, even when everything else did. That's what remains. The part of you that still gets up, even when you have every reason not to. Most people never look for it. They get trapped replaying the collapse, believing that what was lost defines who they are. But the truth is you are not what you've lost. You are what you've kept. You are the compassion that didn't fade, the empathy that deepened, the patience that pain taught you. You are what remains after the world tries to take everything away. Pause here. Take a slow breath in. Let it fill your lungs, steady and deep. Now exhale. That breath, that's proof of life. Proof that even in silence, your body still chooses to continue. It's easy to underestimate that choice. But survival is not passive. It's the most sacred decision you make every single day. When your world fell apart, your body didn't forget how to breathe. Your heart didn't forget how to beat. Your mind didn't forget how to dream. They simply needed time to remember how. That remembering, that's resilience. Resilience is quiet. It doesn't shout. It doesn't rush. It whispers, not yet. I still have more to give. And every time you got out of bed when it didn't make sense, every time you washed your face and faced another day, every time you tried again, that was your strength in motion. That's what remains. Not perfection, not certainty, but persistence. Persistence is the heartbeat of hope. When life breaks you open, you see parts of yourself you never knew existed. The kindness you give others while you're still hurting. The way you find beauty in small, forgotten things. A morning light. A familiar song. A quiet cup of tea. Those are not accidents. They are survival strategies written in your soul. You don't have to be unbreakable. You just have to stay soft enough to rebuild. Because softness is not weakness. It's endurance wrapped in grace. Look back at your journey, even the hardest parts. You'll notice something. You've already carried yourself through things you once thought impossible. You didn't think you could survive that heartbreak. You did. You didn't think you could get up after that loss. You did. You didn't think you could feel peace again. And yet, here you are, breathing through another dawn. That's what remains. You. It's easy to measure life by what you've gained. But the truest measure is what you've endured. Endurance refines the heart. It turns confusion into clarity, pain into patience, failure into fuel. It's the reason the strongest people rarely look loud. Their strength doesn't need to perform. It simply exists. Here's something to remember. You don't find strength when everything's perfect. You find it in the places that almost broke you. You find it in your own hands when no one comes to help. You find it in your voice when you speak the truth, even as it trembles. You find it in your quiet refusal to give up. You've already proven your strength, you just haven't fully believed it yet. So believe it now. Every scar you carry is a certificate of survival. It doesn't make you less beautiful. It makes you more real. Scars remind you of pain, yes, but they also remind you that pain passed. You are not living in the wound anymore. You are living in the healing. The mind loves to ask, "What did I lose?" But the soul always answers, "What remains?" Because what remains is what matters. Even when everything around you changes, your ability to love, to learn, to begin again, those remain untouched. They are the quiet foundation of a life rebuilt in truth. So take inventory today, not of what's gone but of what's stayed. Write it down. List every small invisible strength that got you here. The courage to face endings. The patience to heal slowly. The grace to forgive yourself. That list. That's your new identity. Not who you were, but who survived. You are still here. That's what remains. That's what matters. So stop mourning the pieces that left. Start honoring the ones that refuse to go. Because from those quiet fragments, you will rebuild something stronger, something that cannot be taken again. And that something is you. You found what survived the fall. Now it's time to use that strength, not to control life, but to move with it. Chapter 5: The Slow Fire. Building discipline without punishment. Discipline. It's a word that has been twisted. Most people hear it and think of pain, rigidity, rules. They think of punishment. But real discipline, the kind that sustains a healed life, is not a whip. It's a flame. A slow fire that keeps you warm through the long nights of doubt. You don't build discipline by forcing yourself. You build it by staying close to what you love, even on days it feels heavy. Punishment says, "I must." Devotion says, "I choose." And every morning you rise again, you are choosing to tend that slow fire. The world taught you that progress must be visible, that success must look loud. But real transformation happens in quiet repetition. Not in the applause, not in the breakthroughs, but in the ordinary mornings where no one is watching. That's where discipline becomes sacred. Take any great tree. It doesn't grow in bursts. It grows in rings, invisible layers of patience beneath the bark. Every sunrise adds a line no one will ever see, but those unseen layers are what make it unshakable in the storm. Your habits are those rings. They hold you upright when life tries to bend you. You've punished yourself long enough for inconsistency, for starting and stopping, for falling short of your own expectations. But the truth is, the stop and start, the fail and try again, that is the process. You were never failing discipline. You were learning how to stay with yourself when it gets uncomfortable. Here's what punishment sounds like. I messed up. I'm hopeless. Here's what discipline sounds like. I missed a day. I'll begin again tomorrow. See the difference? One ends the story. The other continues it. The slow fire doesn't die when it flickers. It simply waits for breath. Consistency isn't about perfection. It's about returning. Return to your breath. Return to your values. Return to your small daily promise. Each return strengthens the path under your feet. People think discipline is about control, but control is brittle. It breaks under pressure. True discipline is flexible. It bends with compassion, adapts with wisdom. It asks, "What can I give today?" Sometimes the answer is focus. Sometimes the answer is rest. Both are devoted. When you punish yourself for slowing down, you extinguish the very fire that keeps you moving. When you forgive yourself for slowing down, you keep the flame alive. That's why it's called the slow fire, because it's not meant to burn fast and bright. It's meant to last. Discipline without compassion becomes performance. You end up doing things to prove worth instead of honoring purpose. But when you move from devotion, discipline turns into rhythm, steady, peaceful, sustainable. A rhythm doesn't punish missed beats. It invites you back in. Try this. Think of one small ritual that brings you peace. Making tea, stretching, journaling, praying, walking. That's your fire. Protect it. Feed it daily. Not because you must, but because you want to stay warm in your own company. Remember, great strength isn't built in leaps. It's built in presence. A single page read. A single healthy meal. A single act of kindness. Each one breathed another breath to the flame. And on the days you forget, do not start over with guilt. Start over with gratitude. Gratitude keeps the fire kind. Discipline is not a cage. It's a hearth. A place you return to again and again until it feels like home. Home is not the absence of struggle. It's the presence of peace within it. So when your mind says, "I can't keep up," answer, "Then I'll slow down." Slowing down is not quitting. It's tending. Every practice worth keeping begins this way, gentle, imperfect, real. Even faith flickers sometimes. But faith that flickers and keeps burning is stronger than faith that never knew wind. Let your discipline flicker. Let it breathe. Let it live like fire, alive, moving, forgiving. When you look back months from now, you'll see that what built you wasn't force. It was consistency rooted in care. Because the only discipline that lasts is the one anchored in love for the life you're creating. You don't owe the world perfection. You owe yourself persistence. The slow fire is enough. You've learned how to live with courage, quietly, daily, faithfully. Now it's time to learn how to move with rhythm. To build a life that flows instead of fights. Chapter 6. The Ritual of Courage, Facing Each Day as Practice. Courage. We imagine it as a roar, as fire, battle, or grand moments of bravery. But in real life, courage is smaller, quieter, more ordinary than anyone tells you. It doesn't look like confidence. It looks like showing up when you don't know if it will matter. Courage isn't an event. It's a ritual. A practice you perform in the silence of your own life. You practice it when you get out of bed, even when the weight in your chest says stay. You practice it when you try again after 1,000 small failures. You practice it when you speak your truth, gently, without the need to win. You practice it when you decide that your worth isn't negotiable anymore. That's courage, not loud, not perfect, but steady. We talk about courage as if it's a feeling, but it's not. It's a decision repeated in the presence of fear. The fear doesn't disappear. You simply stop waiting for it to leave before you move. Courage is not the absence of fear. It's movement in spite of it. And the only way to master it is to practice it every day, in small sacred ways. Think of courage as a muscle. It strengthens through use, not through wishing. When you avoid discomfort, the muscle weakens. When you face what scares you softly, patiently, it grows. So each morning, ask yourself, what would courage look like for me today? Some days, courage will mean speaking up. Other days, it will mean staying silent. Sometimes it will mean walking away. Sometimes it will mean staying. There is no single shape to bravery, only sincerity. The ritual of courage begins when you stop performing for approval. When you no longer need others to see your effort to know it matters. You light your own candle in the dark, not because someone asked you to, but because you promised yourself you wouldn't live in darkness anymore. That's what makes it sacred. No audience, no applause, just integrity. Every day gives you a chance to practice this. Courage is built in ordinary rituals. Getting dressed even when you don't feel like yourself. Making that uncomfortable phone call. Telling the truth even when lying would be easier. Choosing calm over chaos, forgiveness over fury, patience over panic. Each of those moments trains your spirit to trust itself again. Courage is less about facing the world, and more about facing yourself. Looking in the mirror and saying, I will not abandon me again. That's what every act of courage really is. A quiet promise to stay true to yourself. And when you keep that promise daily, you begin to live in alignment, and alignment is freedom. There will be days when you forget, when courage feels far away, and all you can manage is survival. That's okay. Courage doesn't demand performance. It just asks for presence. Show up to your own life, even when you don't have all the answers. That's the highest form of bravery there is. You're not supposed to have it all figured out. You're supposed to live it out one moment at a time. Sometimes the most courageous thing you can do is rest. To say, I've done enough for today. To give yourself permission to stop fighting for a while. Rest is not quitting. It's a strategy. Even warriors need to lay down their armor to sharpen it. Courage knows when to move, and when to breathe. Here's the secret no one tells you. You won't feel courageous while you're being courageous. Courage rarely feels good at the moment. It feels uncertain, shaky, uncomfortable. But later when you look back you'll realize those trembling steps were the strongest ones you ever took. You'll see that you didn't need to be fearless, you just needed to keep walking. That's why it's called a ritual. Because it repeats. Every day. Every hour. Each time you face discomfort with honesty, each time you choose presence over avoidance, you're practicing the ritual of courage. And slowly, that practice rewires everything. You stop seeking easy days. You start seeking meaningful ones. Here's your invitation. Tomorrow morning, when you wake, before checking your phone, before the noise, sit up, breathe, and ask one question. What is one small act of courage I can do today? Then do it. Quietly, without fanfare, without fear. And when you lay down at night, thank yourself for doing it. You will have courage, not as performance, but as practice. One day, you'll look back and realize, courage was never a mountain you conquered. It was a ritual that shaped you, breath by breath. And every small act of courage you performed in the dark was building a light that now shines from within you. That's how you rebuild. Not by waiting for fear to leave, but by learning to move with it. The ritual of courage makes you whole again. You've learned how to live with courage, quietly, daily, faithfully. Now it's time to learn how to move with rhythm to build a life that flows instead of fights. Chapter 7: The New Rhythm. Learning to move without rushing. There is a rhythm to everything. To heal, to become, to breathe. But most of us have forgotten how to hear it. We move too fast. Not because life demands it, but because silence makes us uneasy. We rush, hoping that speed will quiet the discomfort of stillness. We chase, believing arrival will bring peace. But peace doesn't wait at the finish line. It walks beside you. And if you rush, you'll miss it. The world teaches urgency as a virtue. Do more. Be more. Move faster. But nothing lasting is born from hurry. A tree doesn't rush its roots. The tide doesn't rush its return. The sun doesn't rush to rise. Everything strong moves with rhythm, not urgency. When you slow down, something sacred happens. You begin to hear your own pulse again. It's the same rhythm that kept you alive through every heartbreak. The same rhythm that whispered, "Not yet," when the world told you to give up. That pulse, that steady, patient beat, is your natural tempo, and returning to it is how you come home to yourself. You don't heal by hurrying through life. You heal by harmonizing with it. Every act, every moment, has its own timing, and your task is not to force it, but to listen. Listening is movement without rush. It's the dance between effort and ease. The old version of you was addicted to momentum. You believed movement meant meaning. That progress had to look visible, loud, and productive. But what if progress isn't about speed, but depth? What if slow growth isn't failure, but wisdom learning to stay? Every rushed moment was a moment half-lived. Every slowed breath, a full one. You don't need to be in a hurry anymore. You've already survived what tried to break you. You can trust time again. You can trust the pace of your own unfolding. The right things take time, not because the world is cruel, but because depth cannot be rushed. You are being deepened, not delayed. Here's what I've learned. If you live too fast, you live at the surface. But when you slow down, you begin to notice the details that make life sacred. The warmth of morning light on your skin. The sound of your own footsteps in the quiet street. The peace of doing one thing fully. This is what real presence feels like. Life as participation, not pursuit. You've spent years sprinting through your days, like life was a race. But who were you competing with? No one remembers who arrived first. They remember who was fully there. And here's the truth. The most alive people are rarely the fastest. They're the ones who know how to pause mid-breath and actually taste the air they fought for. When you move without rushing, something inside you realigns. Your energy stops leaking into worry. Your thoughts stop chasing each other. Your spirit settles into its true rhythm. That rhythm is not lazy. It's intelligent. It knows when to act and when to rest. The mind demands urgency. The soul requests patience. And the moment you honor the soul's pace, you begin to feel at peace with your own life again. Here's a truth you can carry. Every slow, deliberate movement becomes sacred when done with attention. When you eat, eat with presence. When you speak, speak with care. When you love, love without the fear of missing out. That's how you turn ordinary life into meditation. And meditation, in truth, is just the art of being where you already are. You don't need to rush toward the future. The future will meet you when you're ready to receive it. The same way morning doesn't have to chase the dawn, it simply arrives. You are allowed to arrive at your own pace. So from now on, let time be your teacher, not your enemy. Let patience be your discipline. Let presence be your progress. You are not falling behind. You are unfolding. The universe moves in seasons, not schedules. And you too are part of that rhythm. Don't rush your season. Every time you move too fast, pause and whisper this: I am not late for my own life. Because you're not. You're right where the next moment needs you. Even now, this breath, this listening, this stillness is progress. So walk slower, breathe deeper, speak softer. Move through your day as if you're dancing with time itself. Not leading, not following, just moving in rhythm. That's the new rhythm, not the chase for more, but the art of being fully here. You found your rhythm, calm, steady, alive. Now it's time to learn how to protect it from the noise that tries to steal it. Chapter 8: The Gatekeepers. Protecting your peace in a world of noise. Peace is not luck. It's not a gift that life randomly hands you. It's a boundary you build and guard with quiet strength. You don't stumble into peace. You choose it again and again, especially when the world demands your reaction. Because in this world, noise is currency. Everyone's buying attention. Everyone's selling outrage. And the most valuable thing you can own is a calm mind. The moment you begin to grow, the world will test your gates. Not because it hates your peace, but because noise cannot stand what it can't control. You'll feel the pull. To explain. To defend. To prove. Don't. That's how you lose the ground you just gained. Peace doesn't argue. It observes. It knows that silence is not a weakness. It's mastery. There are 3 kinds of gatekeepers in your life: your time, your energy, and your attention. Each one is a door that leads either to strength or to exhaustion. Let's begin with the first, your time. Time is the only thing you never get back. How you spend it defines your peace. You don't have to fill every hour to prove you're worthy. Busyness is not the purpose. It's often avoidance disguised as productivity. Stop saying yes to everything. Start saying yes to what matters. The second gate is your energy. Energy leaks through people who only take. Through conversations that go nowhere. Through habits that leave you empty instead of full. Notice who leaves you drained and who leaves you calm. That's not judgment, that's wisdom. Protecting your peace sometimes means disappointing others. But peace built on people-pleasing isn't peace, it's performance. You are not here to carry everyone's storm. You are here to keep your own sky clear. And the third gate, your attention. What you focus on becomes your reality. Your attention is your creative power. In this world, everyone wants a piece of it. Apps, headlines, algorithms, noise. Each one whispering, look here. Feel this. React now. But peace begins when you reclaim your gaze. When you stop letting the world decide what deserves your emotion. Not every headline deserves your heart. Not every opinion deserves your voice. Attention is sacred. Protect it like prayer. You protect your peace not by isolating, but by becoming intentional. Ask yourself often, does this strengthen me or scatter me? If it strengthens you, stay. If it scatters you, walk away. You're not obligated to attend every argument you're invited to. Every scroll, every reply, every overthinking loop. They all cost you peace. Your mind is a garden. Weed it daily. Sometimes, protecting your peace will look like solitude. Like not answering the message right away. Like canceling the plan because you need silence more than stimulation. And that's okay. You're not falling behind. You're staying aligned. You cannot pour clarity from an overflowing mind. You have to empty it. Refill it. Protect it. Peace is not passive, it's preparation. The world will call your calmness detachment. Let them. It will call your silence arrogance. Let them. It will call your boundaries selfish. Let them. They don't understand that peace is not an escape. It's endurance. You've outgrown chaos. You no longer need to prove your point to protect your worth. You don't need to fight for peace. You need to filter for it. Here's the paradox. The quieter your life becomes, the louder your truth sounds inside you. Silence is not the absence of sound. It's the presence of self. When you protect your peace long enough, you stop seeking validation because peace itself becomes your reward. There will be times when protecting your peace feels lonely, when you wonder if you're missing out. But solitude is not emptiness. It's a signal that you've entered the frequency where truth lives. Don't rush to fill it. Let the quiet recalibrate you. You are allowed to have a life that feels light. You are allowed to walk away from what drains you. You are allowed to choose calm over chaos again and again. You owe no explanation for protecting your energy. Peace doesn't need an apology. And when you begin to live this way, you'll notice that everything aligns: your sleep, your thoughts, your relationships, your goals. Because when peace is protected, clarity is possible. Your peace is your gate. Your discipline is your lock. Your boundaries are your guard. You decide who and what enters. You decide what stays. You decide how your inner world feels. That's not control. That's command. The kind that doesn't shout. The kind that lives quietly and endures. You've built your gates. You've learned to protect your peace. Now it's time to open those gates with wisdom to let life back in without losing yourself again. Chapter 9. Let Life In. Learning to receive without losing yourself. After you learn to protect your peace, you'll feel a strange kind of quiet. It's calm, but sometimes it feels almost empty. Like you've cleaned out every room in your life, and now you're standing there, unsure what's meant to return. That's when the real work begins. Not just holding peace, but learning how to let life back in without losing yourself in the process. For years, you might have lived on defense, guarding, shielding, surviving. But peace was never meant to be a wall. It's meant to be a doorway. And now, it's time to open that door again. With discernment, with strength, and with softness that knows how to stay. You see, once you've been hurt, receiving feels dangerous. Even love can feel like a threat when you've built safety through solitude. You start to believe that needing anything means you're weak again. But that's not true. That's trauma speaking. The truth is, you are allowed to need it. You are allowed to receive. You are allowed to trust life again. Receiving isn't the same as losing control. It's about staying open while remaining rooted. Think of a tree. Its roots go deeply unshakable, but its branches still reach for sunlight, still sway with the wind, still welcome the rain. That's the balance, rooted yet receptive. You are not closing yourself off anymore. You are learning to bend without breaking. There is courage in protection, but there is wisdom in openness. You can guard your boundaries and still let warmth in. You can be strong and still be soft. That's the evolution, moving from survival into trust. Because trust is not naivety. It's the maturity to say, I know I can survive loss, so I'm no longer afraid to receive. Sometimes we confuse control for peace. We think if we manage everything, we'll stay safe. But control suffocates what's trying to enter. You can't receive while your fists are closed. Life wants to meet you halfway, but it can't reach a heart that's barricaded behind fear. So open, not recklessly, but faithfully. Letting life in doesn't mean lowering your boundaries. It means softening your armor. Armor keeps danger out, but it also keeps blessings from getting in. You can't feel the warmth of connection if you never take off your shell. You can't experience love fully if you're always waiting for it to leave. That's not safety, that's isolation. And you've earned more than that. Letting life in is an act of faith. Not in the world, but in your own resilience. Faith says, even if it doesn't go the way I hope, I will still be okay. That kind of faith is built through the fire you've already walked through. It's not naive. It's experienced. You don't open your heart because you're unaware of the risk. You open it because you trust yourself with the risk. Here's something to remember. Receiving is not a passive act. It's an active grace. It's the discipline of not blocking blessings with doubt. Every time you say thank you instead of you didn't have to, you practice receiving. Every time you let someone help you without guilt, you practice trust. Every time you rest without apologizing, you practice faith in your worth. You don't owe the world constant giving. You deserve to be replenished too. You can't pour endlessly without being refilled. And life, if you let it, will refill you in ways you can't predict. But you have to stay open long enough to notice it. That's what this chapter is about. Not doing more, but receiving better. When you've spent years fighting for survival, stillness can feel uncomfortable. You'll want to fill the space, fix something, prove something. But don't. Just breathe. Let the quiet hold you. Because life speaks softly, and if you keep moving too fast, you'll miss what it's offering. Letting life in is an act of alignment. It means you stop chasing and start allowing. You begin to trust timing again. You begin to trust yourself again. You begin to let things come to you that you used to chase. That's not laziness. That's magnetism. You attract what matches your peace, and you repel what no longer does. That's how life becomes partnership, not pursuit. You've already proven you can survive anything. Now prove that you can thrive. Thriving isn't about achievement. It's about capacity. To love. To rest. To receive. To live fully present. Let the sun back in. Let laughter return. Let softness exist again. You don't lose your strength by opening your heart. You expand it. One day, you'll look around and realize your life no longer feels like something to survive. It feels like something to inhabit. And when that day comes, remember this. You didn't find peace by shutting out the world. You found it by learning how to welcome life without letting it take you away from yourself. That's the art of living whole. You've opened the gates and let life back in. Now it's time to rise fully, not as who you were, but as who you've become. Chapter 10. Becoming Whole. Living as the person you fought to be. You've walked through every fire. You've let go of what burned. You've rebuilt from the ashes. You've learned to breathe again, to trust again, to open again. Now, this is where it all comes together. Becoming whole isn't about becoming someone new. It's about finally remembering who you were before the world told you otherwise. You've spent years trying to fix yourself, as if healing was a project and you were broken. But you were never broken. You were becoming. Every mistake, every ending, every silence, they were all pieces of your own becoming. You are not fragments anymore. You are form. You are the finished mosaic that pain was preparing. Wholeness doesn't mean perfection. It means integration. It's the peace that comes from no longer fighting your own story. You've stopped wishing away the past. You've stopped fearing the future. And now, you finally have enough presence to live here. Here is where life actually happens. Becoming whole means you've learned to carry every version of yourself with love. The child who wanted safety. The teen who wanted freedom. The adult who wanted meaning. All of them live inside you, and all of them deserve peace. You no longer reject the parts of yourself that once embarrassed you. You no longer hide from the shadows that shaped you. You've made peace with your own reflection. That's wholeness. It took courage to face your pain. It took strength to stay. It took patience to rebuild. But it takes even more grace to finally stop fighting and just live. Because living is the final stage of healing. You're not waiting for peace anymore. You are at peace. You're not waiting for light anymore. You are light. When you become whole, you stop chasing validation because you already validate yourself. You stop seeking love as escape because you already carry love inside you. You stop running from silence because you've learned it's where you hear the truth. Nothing outside you completes you anymore. Everything outside you complements what's already complete. That's the difference. That's freedom. The person you fought to be isn't someone flawless. They're someone peaceful. Someone who still feels deeply but doesn't drown in the waves. Someone who still cares fiercely but doesn't lose themselves in other storms. You've learned that peace isn't the absence of pain. It's the ability to stay centered in its presence. You've learned that love isn't always grand. Sometimes it's just the small decision to stay kind in a world that forgot how. You no longer measure yourself by what you achieve. You measure yourself by how you respond. Your new wealth is peace. Your new status is stillness. Your new success is balanced. You've mastered the art of not chasing but aligning, not proving but existing, not rushing but trusting. And from that space, you begin to live a life that feels like you. Every morning is no longer a test. It's an invitation. Every challenge is no longer a punishment. It's refined. Every quiet night is no longer lonely. It's home. You've stopped surviving. You've started living. Now, when you look back, you don't see failure. You see evidence. Evidence that even in your worst moments, you never stopped becoming. That's the miracle. You never stopped. And that's why you're here now, whole, steady, awake. Becoming whole doesn't mean you'll never fall again. It means you'll never forget how to rise. It means you'll no longer confuse endings with emptiness. You'll recognize them as invitations for renewal. You'll see beauty even in uncertainty, because you now understand that every uncertain moment carries opportunity. You are no longer afraid of change. You are changed, in its most peaceful form. Your story is no longer about pain. It's about evolution. Everything that tried to destroy you ended up revealing the depth of your strength. Everything that left you empty taught you how to fill yourself again. And everything that silenced you prepared you to speak from a place of truth, not fear. That's what it means to be whole, to live without running, without hiding, without shrinking. To exist in your own rhythm. To protect your peace. To receive life fully. To move with courage and calm. That's not the end of the journey. That's the beginning of a new kind of living. The kind that doesn't depend on conditions, but flows from who you've become. So now, live it. Not halfway. Not someday. Now. You've earned this peace. You've earned this wholeness. You've earned the right to stop fighting your life and start inhabiting it. Wake up slow. Speak gently. Move with grace. The world doesn't need another perfect soul. It needs a present. And that's who you've become. You've reached the place where healing turns to living. You've become the person you once prayed to meet. And that, right there, is wholeness. You are home. The courage to begin again. You've walked a long road. Through endings. Through silence. Through rebuilding. Through becoming. And now, here you are. Still breathing. Still here. Still choosing to begin again. This journey wasn't about fixing yourself. It was about finding yourself underneath the noise. Beneath the old expectations. Beyond the chaos that once defined you. You've learned that healing isn't a single event. It's a rhythm. A slow return to who you truly are. You've learned that peace is not a place you find. It's a presence you build. That strength is not how loud you stand. It's how softly you continue. And that courage. Real courage isn't conquering the world. It's in waking up every morning and choosing not to give up on yourself. Every ending you've faced, every silence you've sat in, every heartbreak you've endured wasn't punishment. It was preparation. Preparation for this exact moment. The moment you finally see that you were never alone. Never broken. Never behind. You were always on your way here. To this peace. To this truth. To this version of you. So breathe. Not to survive, but to receive. You've earned the right to exhale. To trust again. To live with ease. You've earned the right to stop running from your story and start walking with it. Because everything you once thought disqualified you has actually prepared you. And everything you lost was clearing space for who you were meant to become. Now, this is your reminder. You don't have to start over perfectly. You just have to start honestly. You don't need to be fearless. You just need to keep moving. You don't need to have it all together. You just need to have the courage to begin again and again, and again, until the beginning feels like peace. You've come home to yourself. That's the real destination. That's the victory no one can see but you. So wherever you go from here, go with gentleness. Go with patience. Go with trust. And when life changes again, as it always will, remember this voice. Remember this truth. You've done it once. You can do it again. Because you have the courage to begin again. If this message spoke to you, share it. Subscribe. Keep listening. This is Beyond the Noise Studio.